Yo, we're back.
We're back.
I know it's been a few weeks.
A little bit MIA.
We did plan on filming this and doing a YouTube every week, but we've just been busy.
It's been pretty full on, just managing everything.
So
Busy people.
yeah. At the moment we are 13 weeks out, just shy of.
Yeah, 13 weeks yesterday.
It's been going really well. To be fair, I don't think anything could have gone better in the space that's changed since the last video. It's been really good. Training's been really good for me. Weight's coming off as well. It's really good, and food is still sitting really high. My coach is happy. I'm happy. And to be honest, this past week has been probably the best week I've had so far in prep in terms of mood and just motivation as well. I think I didn't want to get too hyped up too soon. And being 13 weeks out now, I'm like, I feel like, right, okay.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. So yeah, everything on my front is really good. How about you?
I've had a kind of mixed mood the last couple of weeks. So, like everything's been going really well. Training's still in a good spot. I've only just had a bit of cardio added in, so I'm only doing 3 cardio sessions a week. So, and that's only on rest days. So my output's still not in too bad a place. My food's still in a much better place than I ever anticipated that it would be. The only issue that I've really had has been my mood, I think, so far. So a couple of days, and it's rare. I don't think it's like every day. Like, I think it seems to hit like midweek. So like Tuesday, Wednesday seems to be the days where it like takes a slight dip. But I'm hopeful that this week's not going to be that kind of week. But outside of that, everything else has been pretty grand, I think. It's just managing life and everything at the same time, right? Like,
yeah.
Just kind of keeping going with work and puppy and all the rest of it. So I think for both of us though, so far things have been, I don't want to say easier, but better than anticipated.
Yeah.
I think we both kind of expected a bit of a grueling time before now, and to be kind of heading to that kind of 13-12 week mark, like without things being too intense and with things moving so well. I think so far it's been better than anticipated, which is quite nice.
I think when you get in your head that you're doing a prep, you're like, shit, this is going to be hard straight away. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be hard until the last, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
8 weeks, really. 8 weeks, 4 weeks out. Kind of thing, that's when it should be like, your body's like really letting know. You should like kind of almost be ready for your show at that point. Like,
yeah, you want to be ready early.
Like a few things you can change or get a little bit leaner like in the next couple of weeks, but you should almost be there. So your body to kind of go through that at kind of 4 weeks out is kind of the right time. So considering we're 13 weeks out, if we were feeling like crap at
already,
this point,
yeah.
we'd kind of be in trouble, right? So yeah, it's definitely been a lot easier than we both anticipated at this point. Again,
yeah.
like both of us for sure, our food is a lot higher than we both thought, and strength is still holding out for both of us still really well, and things are changing like daily, I think. So
yeah,
it's going
pretty
well.
Anyway,
so point this one was a prep Q&A. So we put a poll up on, or question box up on Instagram, and we're going to answer your questions you have for us.
Shall I start with the Instagram ones?
Yeah.
So we have you guys learned anything in this prep so far that you'd change for next time? Assuming that we would do it again.
For me, no, to be honest. I think we've nailed everything the best we could have so far. We've not made a single mistake. We've hit everything like dead on, like steps, cardio, tracked everything to the gram, which is annoying.
Pretty funny.
But I think that's the way it should be. Yeah. And the reason I think why it's gone so well to this point is because we spent 6 months before we started prep eating really well. Like, we weren't eating junk food all the time. We weren't having takeaways. We weren't like going over. We were tracking like for 6 months before prep started anyway. So we're already kind of building that base and building that routine. So we didn't start in a bad position. If we were eating crap all the time when we went to start, right, we're going to start eating clean.
That would have been a shock to the system.
It would have been a lot more difficult. But because we eat so well, like, most of the time, like, we did go out, we did like like go out. We had like drinks and stuff, and
Yeah.
we had dinners out and stuff, but they were very, very rare. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
they weren't
it's
as
made it a
frequent
lot
as-
easier.
Yeah, I think that as well. Like our routine was already kind of set in place. So although I wasn't like doing cardio and stuff before, we were still walking plenty to meet steps. Even if they were like, I think even before I started with Sophie, I was still making sure I did steps on my own. Our sleep was always in a pretty good spot. Like we were pretty good in our routine, like evening and morning. So I think having that base routine there made a big difference. And again, I think had that not been in place, it probably would have been harder to build that routine back in, like to get used to getting up and doing cardio or going for walks, or like getting yourself back into a decent routine of going to bed at a normal time. Like I think had that not been in place, that would have been harder to settle.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of set ourselves up pretty well beforehand. I don't really know if there is anything
Yeah,
that
I
I've
don't-
learned that I would change. Actually,
Yeah, it's going
I think
pretty
it's
damn
been-
well.
yeah, I think yeah, just having that routine there definitely made a difference. Shall I
Cool.
find this?
Next question.
So coming from strength sports, we always peak for strength, so volume comes down and weight goes up pre-comp. How do you peak the gym work for a bodybuilding comp? Assuming intensity will drop due to food dropping, but do you drive volume up closer to show?
Intensity always stays high, but you want to try and stay as safe as possible. So what would probably reduce is just the load.
Yeah.
So if you think about how much weight you've lost, like say it's like 10, 15 kilos, you don't have all that fat around your joints. You don't have that weight around your core as well. So things like your heavy compounds and stuff that's likely to risk injury, you want to really scale back down. But intensity always high. At the end of the day, you want to try and retain as much muscle as possible, and also burn as much calories as possible in your sessions. As
think-
again, because it's an output.
Yeah, I think heading closer to show, that obviously tapers down. So a lot of sessions, I think, in that kind of final week tend to be a lot more about just getting the blood flowing through the muscle. You want to kind of reduce the inflammation into the body so that everything, you're not retaining water and all the rest of it. So coming into showtime, that'll change again with that peak.
Yeah, I think in that very peak week, it's a case of washing off fatigue.
Yeah.
So
Reducing stress.
yeah, exactly. Just because if you're like, the whole point is when you want to reduce stress and reduce fatigue, is your body holds on to water, right? So muscles look less defined. So if you can kind of wash that away by just like staying nice and chill, yeah, you're training, but not.
It's a pump session. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
not
much.
a kind of training.
It's not.
It's not the same training volume or intensity that you would have
Yeah.
before that.
Yeah.
But I don't actually. I think for both of us competing for the first time, I don't know when that changes.
Yeah.
I don't know if there'll be changes that come in pre-peak week or not, or if it'll just be that kind of final week where things kind of settle down. Because again, we haven't done this before, so I think in prepping for photo shoots, I don't know how your training changed. Mine's
Mine
kind of
didn't.
went that way. I kind of had a reduction in training towards shoot, a reduction in cardio and an increase in carbs, obviously for fullness. So I imagine it'll be something relatively similar.
Yeah.
But obviously the stakes are slightly different.
Yeah. I think it's
So-
very much dependent on the look the few days before, like when it comes to adding in carbs and manipulating water, salt intake, all those kind of things. Like for very much both of us, because we have coaches, we're relying on them to tell us what to do.
Yeah.
But also our coaches are relying on us to give them accurate feedback. Like we're both not kind of complainers, so if we say feel like we're dying,
We mean it.
we're, like, but we're probably not going to express how shitty we feel, really. But again, it's the same thing with like, if we're adding in carbs, it's like, do you feel full? Do you feel like hard? If that makes sense. Like, do you know what I mean? How do you feel? Are you like, how do you? Do you know what I mean? It's hard.
There's a lot,
It's
yeah.
hard to give feedback to your coach in that sense because, John, it's one of those things. So very much it'll just be hopefully their trained eye will know what to do with us. But again, because we would have been with our coaches for a good amount of time,
They'll know us.
Yeah, they'll know kind of our bodies well enough that they can make a good call for the few days leading up to it. But that's really it.
Yeah, I guess the check-in frequency increases as well. Obviously, the closer you are to keep a closer eye on things.
Yeah.
So I think that's where things kind of start to shift and change daily rather than... I mean, you're still a weekly check-in at the moment.
Yeah, still weekly.
I'm twice a week now, so I check in every Tuesday and Friday. So I've already had an increase in frequency of check-ins. Not that anything's had to change yet, but give it time.
Cool.
I hope that actually answered that question well. Note to self, charge camera battery.
Yeah.
I think we're just starting the next question though, so
Yeah,
I think it was
all right.
terrible. So the next question was, hardest thing about it so far or to come? Hardest thing so far, I think it's just been the kind of dips in mood, because they kind of come out of nowhere. So it's more just kind of responding to that and kind of keeping going with things rather than letting it kind of take over. I think that's been the kind of hardest part so far, is having to like not just set it aside, but like acknowledge it and then move on kind of thing, because we still have shit to do.
Yeah,
like I think
things
that's
still
probably
go
been
on.
yeah, that's it. Like, so no matter how you're feeling, like we both have jobs, we both have shit that needs done, we've got a dog to take care of, like life carries forward. So I think that for me anyway has been the hardest thing so far. I haven't found like the training or the cardio or the food or anything difficult. I think it's the dips in mood that have been
I think
the hardest bit.
I agree with you there. Like sometimes like your mood just drops and it's like you're not hungry, you're not tired, you just kind of feel a bit flat. But apart from that, I think just trying to fit everything in sometimes. So say like I've got 2 jobs and trying to fit in both of those around cardio and training and prepping food and walking the dog and spending time with each other.
Still having a life.
And yeah, like doing things like catching up with friends and stuff, like
Definitely takes a back seat, doesn't it, unfortunately.
it's just trying to fit it all in and make everything work. I think that's probably the hardest part. But I mean, at the end of the day, like prep comes first to an extent. Like we have to work, right?
Yeah, like,
But again, we can move, like, again, because we're self-employed, we can move people as it fits in our schedule. I've got some shift work, so that can't really change, but I can ask to not work certain days or start at different times, so it kind of works that way. So overall, just those 2, I think.
yeah, I think so. Hardest or so far or to come? I think to come it'll be energy, right? It'll be, again, still keeping on when energy gets lower and not letting that impact other things. Like, I work with people, so I can't let my energy impact the way that I work with people. And I think that's probably going to be quite tough down the line.
Yeah, just not take it out
On anybody else.
your mood out. No, again, it's our choice. It's not their fault. You're hungry. It's our decision that we want to go through this prep. So
I think bearing that in mind, though, I think like your mindset's a big part of it. We've said this before. Like, you need to kind of keep your head screwed on. The next one is just, how's it been so far?
I think we kind
of covered that at the start, so yeah, it's been
next one.
Not too shabby. Are you both nervous about any of it?
Yeah. More excited than nervous.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit nervous about actually going onto the stage itself. I mean, like you're almost performing, do you know what I mean? So you do your routine, your eye walk, as they say. But as prep goes, like we're gonna practice posing, so that's really good. But when it comes to actually prepping itself, no, because we're doing everything we can to hit everything nail on the head that we've been assigned by our coaches, right? So
It's just ticking boxes.
that doesn't make me nervous. I think again, I think what would make me nervous, I guess, is just how we're gonna feel a few weeks out. Like I'm balancing everything, like we said in the last question.
Yeah.
Like balancing our mood. When it comes to day to day in the last couple of weeks, but again, we're expecting that to happen, so we're prepared for it basically.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Sorry.
There's a cat running past the window. But no, I think I'd agree. I think the most nerve-wracking bit is the show day itself, right? Because it's an unknown at the moment. Like, we haven't done it before, so it's all new. And I think, like with anything you do that's new or different, like there's a kind of nervousness and uncertainty that comes with the unknown. So I think that's probably the most nerve-wracking bit.
Yeah.
I think, the being on stage in front of people.
Yeah.
That bit is like, I think that's definitely it's the same question. I clicked the wrong thing. But yeah, I think outside of that, everything should be okay. Are you worried about prepping together being bad for your relationship? I actually think doing it separately would have been worse, in all honesty. I think we've had this conversation before. Like,
I agree.
I think because we're both doing the same kind of thing and have the same goal to head towards, like, it actually makes things easier. I think if one of us was prepping and the other one wasn't, I think it would be harder to balance things that way, because any sort of social occasions kind of head out the window, and the option to go out for dinner and have drinks and stuff is gone. So one of you would be waiting for that or wanting to do those things while the other couldn't. Although I think we'd be okay because we're quite understanding about it, but I think that would probably be harder than doing it together. I don't know if you think.
Yeah,
of it,
no,
like,
I 100% agree. Like, it's a case of, if you've got to work, like, I can prep her food so it's ready for you coming home.
Yeah, we kind of do that pretty well.
Like, we buy all the same foods all the time, so there's no question about that. We're not missing out on anything together because we're doing the same thing together. And again, if we were apart, I think it would make the whole process a lot more lonely.
Yeah.
It's lonely anyway, even though we're doing it together, but in the sense that you're in your own head all the time about it. But because we're both doing it, we talk about how we feel, like, all the time, which is really nice.
Communicate pretty well.
And because we're doing the same thing, it's so relatable. And again, once we've finished and done with it, we get to enjoy all the things that we've missed together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I think in all things, it's probably actually 100% easier we're doing it together.
Yeah,
and
I'd agree.
It's brought us closer, I reckon.
I think we communicate much better. Like, I think we kind of have to, but I think because we communicate things so well, and even then, like, if one of us has got steps to hit, we'll just go out and nail it together. Like, it's like an extra support system, I guess. Like,
I think if you can go through a prep with someone, and it all goes smoothly and, like, no arguments or, like, anything like that, like, I think you can do anything, right?
You safely say
because
you're
do you know what I mean? Like, you're really tired, you're grumpy, you're going to be hungry, you've got to fit in so much into your day, and if you can go through that without being at each other's kind of throats to an extent, like, we're both really easygoing people anyway.
Yeah, we're pretty chill.
So that makes life easy and easier. But if you can do that whole thing, I think it just shows how good your relationship is. So, but we'll keep you posted on that. If we get to 2 weeks out and we're sitting at other ends of the couches, then maybe there's been
we're
a
no
problem.
longer talking right now, but it's good. I think it'll be alright.
I think overall, like, it's better we're doing it together.
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
Next one.
What are the parts of prep you're most and least excited about?
Ooh.
That's tough.
I think most excited is actually going on stage, even though it makes me nervous, right? But it's all the work you've put in over these past 20 weeks or so is being showcased, right? And it's just how well I've done.
Yeah, it's a culmination of the whole thing.
Yeah,
right?
do you know what I mean? It's like, say you're drawing something and you finally got it finished, you're like, man, like, I'm proud of myself. It's the same thing. You're proud of yourself, you push yourself to that level where you're being critiqued on it. So I'm excited about that. Least excited. I think we spoke about I'm least excited for it to be over, in a sense, because it's been such a
most
long...
excited about show day, but least excited for it to be done.
Because it's such a long process to go through, and then once it's done, it's kind of like that book's kind of closed, and it's like, yeah, back to reality, and it's like, okay, but we've gone through this, like, mad journey, and then now it's done, right? So it's, again, I think that's almost going to be harder mentally to cope with than actually going through prep itself. Is that whole, I think
it's the goal-driven thing, I think, that makes that.
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with that post-show blues kind of thing. It's like, well, I've done it now. What now?
Yeah.
And it's like, do you give up completely, or do you get ready for shows
to go
next season, whatever? So it's definitely, that's the time to reflect and take it back. So I'm a bit nervous about that kind of post-show feeling about what's next now.
Yeah.
But apart from that, sound.
I think I don't know what I'm the most excited about. I think probably the same. Like, as much as I'm absolutely shitting myself for being on stage, I'm not really a natural performer. I'm rather clumsy. So being on stage in a pair of heels and not falling down, I think is going to be a challenge in itself. So I think, but I'm still excited about it. Like, I think getting to that point, I think because it's something I've wanted to do for so long. Like, I think I set my sights on competing for the first time about 6 years ago. I got halfway through a prep and had to stop when the shows were cancelled because of COVID. And I think at that point I took a really big step back from it all and wasn't really sure that if it was something I would ever actually get round to. So just seeing it through, I think for me is probably the most exciting bit, like getting to the end of it this time and not having something like COVID kind of get in the way of that is quite nice. And being able to kind of prove to myself that I can do it, because the photo shoot prep that happened during COVID was rough because obviously everything was done from home, so that was pretty intense. So I'm quite looking forward to kind of seeing this the whole way through, and like not that I'm excited for it to be over, but excited to prove to myself that I can actually do it and see it through. So that's quite nice. I think I'm least excited. I think it comes to that post show thing. I think watching, like, this whole process, you're watching your body change daily, really, with things coming down, weight coming off, seeing yourself in a way that you've never looked before. I'm definitely the kind of leanest that I've been and the smallest that I've been at any point. Like, my scale weight's the lowest that I've been as an adult. So I think then having, like, as much as I'm looking forward to the food and stuff post show, like looking forward to a bit of normality and a bit of flexibility coming back, I'm nervous or kind of like not so excited about that either, because then you've got to watch that all change again at the other side of it. So it's that whole kind of like that warped body image, I guess, at the end of it. That I think
it's gone from I look incredible to and now don't look as incredible. And
but it's
like,
necessary, right? It's like that shows.
Because what we're doing is really unhealthy. Like, you shouldn't be like this lean all the time. You need to have like good food, like a lot of food to kind of for your body to run well.
That's it, yeah.
So
and those healthy body fat levels again. So I'm not looking forward to the kind of mental challenge of that. But I'm also very aware that it's very necessary, and that it comes with a lot more kind of freedom and flexibility. So I guess that's kind of weighing that up either side.
Yep.
I hope that makes sense. Last question: diuretics, yay or nay?
Yes, but realize your goal. So diuretics, you've got like drug wise, you've got yohimbine, which is perfectly legal, like in the UK. We just you can't sell it, but you can you can order it online. It's completely legal, like, and also legal in the sense you can use it in natural shows. That's kind of what I mean by legal. And then you've got the stuff that's not so legal. So obviously, like, for assisted users, you got clenbuterol. You have growth hormone as well. All those things, like, yes, they can help you lose weight and drop body fat, but like, realize the goal that if you're generally dieting for a holiday, you don't need it to look good on the beach or for a picture. Like, do it as naturally as you can just by tracking your food and doing exercise, right? But with this, like, competition, you need to realize you're literally being judged on how you look. Someone's going, how lean are you? So doing these extra little bits, like taking diuretics, are going to help you get to that point where you're going to look your best, and that's kind of the difference between using them or not, I reckon.
Yeah, I think for general use, I don't.
For a general diet, to lose weight for a holiday, like, no. But for a competition standpoint,
it's a different goal.
Yes, but again, it's entirely up to you. Like, you're in.
It's not necessary, right?
It's not. Nothing's necessary, but it's. What I'm trying to say here.
I guess it's about making, like, informed choices, right? Yeah. Based on, like, where you're headed, and if someone's asking that as a kind of general, like, will they help me with weight loss? They will remove weight from the scales, but for general use, I don't think it's something that people should look into, really.
It's not worth it.
It's a kind of different.
Yeah, for sure. But again, like, think about natural ones. You got caffeine, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's gonna slightly elevate your heart rate. Do you know what I mean? That's gonna, you don't have to, like, and again, you can buy fat burners in shops, which are basically just caffeine.
Yeah.
Right, so they don't work. Well, they do work, but they're just very expensive. Just have a coffee.
Yeah.
Right, so
it's one of those things that.
I had one. Was I think I remember it, to be fair. How easy is it to stay shredded in off season?
It's not the goal.
Shredded wouldn't be the word I'd use.
Staying lean in an off season.
Staying lean in off season, yes. Just because it makes it easier to diet out of and get ready for a show or like, do you know what I mean, like to lose weight for a holiday, right? Off season, you want to try and gain as much muscle as possible, like muscle and strength as possible. So you need fuel to do that, but body composition doesn't go to a way that it's too far out of whack. Do you know what I mean? Like carrying excess body fat has no relation to strength at all, unless like you're competing like strongman, right? You need to be heavy to be able
mass moves mass.
Yeah, mass moves mass. But when it comes to like doing reps of like, do you know what I mean, a bench press, right? Having loads of body fat makes like not really any difference to that. But as long as you've got a good amount of body fat to fuel your sessions,
keeping you at a healthy
and be
level,
healthy,
like,
then you're in a good spot.
I think that's it though. Like the goal of off season is to get back into a healthy position to then build more muscle from. It's not, the goal isn't to be shredded.
Yeah.
While you're building muscle, like it's not.
Yeah.
Like those goals come separately. So while you want to keep body fat lower, you don't want to be gaining excess. You still want body fat in a good place to keep your body functioning in a kind of healthy way.
Yeah. But I always go by terms like you should still be able to see a midsection. That's kind of the perfect amount in my opinion. Like you should still have a little bit of detail there, like, but not so much like you're not going to have all six abs there and be veiny like all year round, unless like you really want to, but you're not going to progress as fast in the gym, right?
Yeah.
So, but you should still have a little bit of tone to your muscle. I reckon that's a good point. Easiness wise, it's as easy as you want to make it. Like, you should track your food all year round, and have some off-plan meals. Like I've tracked, I don't know how many years for now.
Yeah.
Like religiously, I've tracked for specifically 6 months in an off season, and then now through prep. So I would have been tracked every day for a year, apart from like a few days around Christmas. Which is, in my opinion, the right way to do it. So that's how your body composition doesn't go too far out of whack, because you're staying consistent. If your weight goes up and your strength isn't going up, you need to look at how much you're eating. So a way to do that is by looking at the foods you're eating and that you've tracked. So if you're having too much calories and you're getting fatter and not stronger, you need to bring those calories down so body composition stays in a good spot all year.
Fair. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's it.
We're going to leave it at that because the battery's going to die again. And also it's quite a long one. I think it's just coming up to half an hour, I think. So hopefully you enjoyed it.
Nice
prep
to see you
update.
again.